Well, I'm going to try and do some of my monologues a little different today. I'm doing it in the middle of the day instead of the end of the day, doing without any artificial light. I've got the beautiful Hawaiian sun around me. I'm doing it outside, and we'll see how it goes. It's probably going to be a little bit noisier. I need to figure that one out, but let's see. And I've got a script this time, which might be helpful. And I'm going to talk to you today about this theme, which is you cannot outrun God. So I've always tried to do things my own way, thinking, oh, I've got this, Samuel's got this, Samuel can figure it out, whether it came to something big or something small. I remember it was church camp for our church, and my mates and I, we were tasked with setting up our own tent, and my dad was like, oh yeah, you guys can do it, but you'll probably need my help sometime. And I was like, no, I need to prove my dad wrong right now. So it was me, it was 3 of my friends and my brother, 5 guys were all trying to set up this tent, and I was like, oh, let's do it this way, and then my friend was like, it looks kind of broken. I'm like, no, it's not broken, it's perfect. And we were like, I'm not sure about that. But then I was like, no, this is the right way. And guess what? It was rusty, it wasn't extending enough, it was awful. It did not work out in the end, Eventually my dad had to come and rescue it, because it was just so bad. Or in terms of sometimes with music performance, as a Brit, everyone just wants me to play Oasis pretty much, or Ed Sheeran. And I'd always be I'd say to my dad on my first big gig, I was like, oh, I don't need to play Oasis, I don't, no one likes that. And then my dad was like, okay, just put one song in. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So I put one song in at the end, right? And guess what happened? Out of all of the songs I played for that first gig, everyone loved the Oasis one, and everyone remembered that one. So my dad was right. And I always, like I said, I always think I know better, and I don't. And we can't do that in our faith. We can't be like, we know better, we've got it handled, we have it all together. We need to follow God's plan. So there's a problem that we try to make our own plans. We will never get the best outcome in a situation if it's not God's plan, if it's not the outcome that God said for us to pursue, right? And if we're living in active disobedience, then we should question our faith completely. If we're living actively disobedient, then we're probably not saved, It reminds me of that Johnny Cash song, God's Gonna Cut You Down, and where he's like, sooner or later God's gonna take you down, So it's like every knee is going to bow, we might as well bow and follow God's plan now. So we need to realize that God has a standard for us, and he wants us to fulfill a certain role, and whether we like it or not, we will serve that purpose that he wants us to. We can choose to bow now or bow later. So God has a mission for us to complete. For you and for me, we have a mission that God has laid out for us, and we can choose, oh, I'm going to do my own thing, but God's going to use us for his plan anyways, whether we are actively working in that plan or not. We're going to be used for his glory, so why not glorify him right now anyways, right? Because we're going to bow, so we should choose to bow now, because Jesus is giving us an opportunity, saying, follow me now, or face the consequences later, and the reward is so much better. So I always like the contrast of the Christian view versus the worldly view. The worldly view is, what if this happens? What if that happens? If we try and do things in our own strength, if we try and do things our way, then we're always concerned with the what ifs, with what if that job that I want falls through? What if this puts a spanner in my works? The Christian view is, even if that happens, even if I lose my job, I know that God's got a plan, and I just need to focus on doing his will for my life. Even if things go wrong, I just need to focus on doing that right now. It's getting a little bit windy, and I'm looking at that camera and I'm worried about it, and it's messing up my hair, and I keep trying to rearrange it, as you can see. So maybe we are going to do it indoors. But anyway, the reward is so much better. We have peace, knowing that whatever happens, it's in God's plan, right? And our purpose is fulfilled. God has a purpose for every one of us. And I mean, like, really, like, acting out in that purpose and discovering what that is and living it out, you really realize, you're like, this is what I was meant to do all along, you know? Solution: be in His Word, His will, and be in active obedience. Being in the Word is so important. It gives you clarity of what God really wants for you in your life, you know? Being in His will and being actively obedient. Jesus says that those who love Him keep His commandments, and says that when they do that, Christ and the Father come and make their home with that person. And that's what we call in theology, we call it the blessings of obedience. And, you know, I felt that in my life where I've been like, when I'm acting out in His will, when I'm fighting sin, when I'm doing what He desires for me, it's not like you're rich and you have a Ferrari or whatever. It's just like you have peace, and it feels right, you know. It feels like you can sense His presence, you know. So it's just better to just surrender to God's will. It's better for your life. It's in your interest. So stop running, stop trying to do things in your own strength, and just follow His will.